A fitting way to end 3 decades of Grand Prix success.
When you are a leader, you are complicated. You can be normal. If you are normal, you are not a leader. He was a leader of the racing world.
Enzo Ferrari entered the world before the word aerodynamics entered the vocabulary. Yet when cars became so fast they were creating their own barriers of disturbed air, Ferrari was quick to seek the wind tunnel to make his machines as aerodynamically slippery as possible. Although intensely active in engineering innovation, Ferrari could never claim to be a pioneer in racing's use of disc brakes, rear engines, aerodynamic wings, ground effects or turbocharging, more often arriving behind the competition. It was his philosophy to wait until he had perfected the new technology before introducing it for the sake of introducing it. As he proved with the rear engine, he could start 2 years behind and wind up 2 years ahead.
Qual è la macchina la più importante che lei ha costruito?
Quella che devo ancora costruire.
In the motor racing world, the launch of a new Ferrari Grand Prix entrant causes more excitement than the premiere of a new film in Hollywood. Maranello's concept of endless improvement guarantees to the press that the new car will not be a cosmetic rehash of the previous model, but a new step in the Scuderia's progress. Launch of the Ferrari 126 C4 in 1984 was typical, the press flocking to Maranello from all over the globe to see what was on the young mind of the grand old man. When the press had gone home, the real work on the new car begins at Maranello. Wind tunnels, computers, dynamometers, bench tests, theories cannot tell you if the new car will actually work when it hits the pavement. It has to be tested. In short, it has to be driven. At its elaborate test track adjacent to the factory, the Scuderia stages endless trials to determine whether the theoretical calculations translate physically into a world championship contender. Always in the background, always looking over the shoulder, was Enzo Ferrari. Mauro Forghieri discusses the man who was peering at his work.
You know, was a man able to put in the team a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of, you know, he was convincing to people to be believer in the result. So he wasn't, honestly, working with him behind the shoulder was easier, I think, that without him. Because he was a, how can I say, a sure point. You know, when we go back after a bad race, maybe he was able to be furious with us, but immediately after to be like a father, you know, giving us convention to keep on and to try to do our best.
It is vital to have the driver constantly working the kinks out of the car, but all his testing would be worthless if he couldn't communicate the car's performance and problems to the engineers. Ferrari has had many great drivers and many great engineers, but if they were not tuned to each other, the result was silence. With Enzo Ferrari, who described himself as a troublemaker, there was always lots of noise. All the world again beat a path to the door at Maranello in 1985 for the launch of the 156. Even those who keep careful score of the number of Grand Prix prototypes Ferrari has introduced cannot agree on which was a completely new design and what was an improvement on an existing car. But at least 25 cars have made their debut since 1950, which is extremely modest compared to the more than 150 engines he has built over the same period. Press interest in a new Ferrari launch is enhanced by the knowledge that with Ferrari alone, beauty is more than skin deep. Unique among racing teams, the engine and transmission and most components under the sleek body came from the same group of designers from the same factory. Ferrari makes the total car. Whatever the activity at Maranello, Enzo Ferrari was always there, hovering just out of focus, self-effacing to the public, but very much the presence and the power inside the Scuderia.
Quel serait le conseil que vous donneriez-vous, Monsieur Ferrari, à un jeune homme qui voudrait s'engager dans la compétition automobile aujourd'hui? Quel conseil lui donneriez-vous?
È difficile. Come padre dovrei dire di no. Come sportivo direi di sì se egli un talento naturale. Sono due questioni molto separate.
Mais de conseils spécialement de s'orienter?
Nessuno. Se uno è un talento naturale può fare il corridore. Non lo diventa. Bisogna essere dei talenti naturali per essere dei piloti all'apice.
The Maranello track, with its electronic sophistication and proximity to the factory, is the natural centre of Ferrari's endless testing and trials. It affords the unrivaled opportunity to test next to the engineering heart of the Scuderia, and the availability of anything from a small machined part to a complete rebuild of the car. Enzo Ferrari has stated that testing is essential to racing and that racing is essential to the automotive industry in general. In his words, the automobile was born out of racing. It has advanced with racing. It continues on its upward path of improvement by drawing from the fund of results offered by racing. Any laboratory research or computer analysis, any new discovery of any type whatsoever that has to do with the automobile will find its real endorsement nowhere else than in the characteristics that emerge from the practical experiment carried out on the track. It is precisely racing that forces the driver to make maneuvers and bring about stresses and uses which cannot be programmed or calculated on a computer because they are irrational and caused solely by the requirements he finds himself having to meet in the course of a race. These situations and circumstances which cannot be theorized occur on ordinary roads with ordinary cars. Ferrari knew that racing was not held at Maranello. Thus, there was the need to practice in different countries, climates, and altitudes. In testing, the cars usually cover a full race distance, doing up to 90 laps against only the clock, and face many of the hazards encountered during competition.
La competizione si va evolvendo e evolvendo cosa diventa? Diventa sempre più uno spettacolo e ogni spettacolo ha le sue esigenze.
Ma lo spirito è cambiato?
Lo spirito, io credo che oggi ci sia l'elemento interesse che domina molte decisioni. Una volta c'era la passione pura.